Tonight, suspect killed. Police near Grand Prairie shoot and kill an erratic driver. Standoff. Mounties in Fort St. John surround a Motel 6. And wildfire relief. Only 3 fires are burning out of control in northeast BC. Good evening and thank you for joining us. And we begin tonight as Alberta's police watchdog is investigating after police shot and killed a man outside of Grand Prairie. It happened late Friday night, and police are saying they tried to stop an erratic driver when the driver took off and got stuck in the mud. Police say the man pulled a gun. At least one officer fired. The man died at the scene. No officers were hurt. The Alberta Serious Incident Response Team is now investigating. And a car stolen out of Grand Prairie last night turned up in a remote location near Dawson Creek. Just before midnight, police received a call from the vehicle's OnStar system saying it had crashed. Dawson Creek RCMP say the car was driven up Bear Mountain and pushed over a cliff beside one of the windmills. When officers arrived at the scene, the car lights were still on 80 feet below. The fire department was then called in to ensure no one was inside the Chevy Malibu. Anyone with any information on this case is being asked to contact the Dawson Creek RCMP detachment. And police in Fort St. John responded to a call at the Motel 6 Friday. There was a large police presence as a standoff ensued. Police responded to a call about a potential robbery involving 3 male suspects with handguns and a female victim. Well, Mounties then surrounded the motel with guns drawn. After a period of time that involved calling the suspects out of the room, the males exited the building and they were then taken into custody. Well, the RCMP then determined that the robbery did not occur. They say the information they had received was highly exaggerated. Police add that all 3 males were released at the scene. The BC Centre for Disease Control reporting 6 new cases of the measles here in Northern Health Region. The 6 new cases announced Monday now bring the total to 83. Along with that, the BC CDC now saying there are 16 probable cases in the north. That brings the total number of cases this year in BC to 122. The vast majority of those are from here in the Northern Health Region. Only 3 out-of-control wildfires are now burning in northeast BC. The BC Wildfire Service says the province is currently seeing unsettled weather conditions, and it means drier conditions are coming after a stretch of rain. The Wildfire Service says a cold front arrived in northeastern BC on Sunday, and that brought showers and thunderstorms and will continue until start the week. The Weather Office expects drier conditions to start on Wednesday. There are just over 70 fires burning across the province, and most of those active blazes are still located here in northeast British Columbia. Well, the Peace River Regional District has approved $950,000 in repairs to the North Peace Leisure Pool in Fort St. John. The Regional District says most of that money will go towards major work on the roof of the pool. A submission from DM Henderson Roofing providing a quote of around $833,000 for the project. The PRD says the quote was over budget due to rising construction costs, but the board decided to approve it anyway. The rest of the money will go towards smaller projects like replacing the fire alarm panel and the heating system in the steam room. No timeline was provided for the project. And after being closed for almost a year, the Boundary Lake Water Station is reopening today. According to the Peace River Regional District, the Area B station closed last August because of an equipment failure. They say water quality was affected, but the contaminated equipment has now been replaced. Northern Health has also approved the station reopening after a new treatment system was installed. At the time, residents were told to switch to the Five Spring Water Station. The PRD now says residents can continue to access water from that location if they prefer. In other news tonight, a BC-based nonprofit is speaking out following the death of 5 BC women in just 2 months. On July 4th, Bailey McCourt was attacked with a hammer in Kelowna parking lot. Her ex-husband, James Plover, has since been charged with second-degree murder. Meantime, police in Richmond have confirmed a 51-year-old woman who died on Friday was the victim of an alleged domestic violence. 33-year-old George Dragnia has since been charged with second-degree murder. At the time, Richmond RCMP said there was no risk to public safety, but the executive director of the Battered Women's Support Services says she takes issue with that language.
We've seen a spike now in killings of women. So this, of course, highlights the lethal factors that are around intimate partner violence, domestic violence. So this is not a time to be pretending or acting as if the issue's been solved and that the issue is under control, which is what a statement like that implies.
3 other women have been killed by men in June and July. The organization says it wants to see greater funding for community-based victim services right across the province of British Columbia. Now, a federal inmate has been charged with first-degree murder in the death of Robert Picton. 52-year-old Martin Charret was charged back on July the 3rd for allegedly attacking Picton at a maximum security prison in Quebec. Picton died in hospital on May 31st, 2024, 12 days after he was assaulted, but no charges were laid at the time. A report released earlier this month revealed Picton was assaulted by a fellow inmate who broke a broom handle and thrust it into his face. A separate report by an independent observer named Charret as the suspect. Picton was convicted in 2007 on 6 counts of second-degree murder, but he was suspected of killing dozens more women at his family's pig farm in Port Coquitlam. It's a problem in many parts of the country, patients occupying a hospital bed when they should be in long-term care home. Now, one province is employing a new strategy to try and cope. CTV's Sarah Plowman explains.
It's summer, but hospitals are overcrowded. Hundreds of beds taken up by people who don't need to be here but can't go home. Many stuck, waiting for a long-term care bed.
Approximately 40% of acute care beds are currently being used by patients who no longer require hospital-level care.
To relieve pressure, one of New Brunswick's health networks asked the province to approve a critical state protocol so patients at 4 overcrowded hospitals can be bumped to the top of the nursing home wait list. The province granted that wish for 30 days.
We do have beds available across the province. So the folks that are in hospital now are going to be prioritized for those beds. Now, the next step is making sure that we don't get here again.
In the next month, Horizon Health hopes to get more patients out the door. How many is hard to predict.
It depends on beds becoming available in these long-term care homes. Often they become available when, unfortunately, a patient passes away.
Shelley Poirier's family understands the agonizing wait. Her dad had a heart attack in May 2023. It took 17 months to be moved from the hospital.
We watched his mental health decline too, right? He started to get, quite depressed. And he, after such a long wait, he started to believe it was never going to happen.
Eventually, he did get a spot at a nursing home where he's 100 and happy. But she's concerned for others.
It's a huge system and a huge problem that's systemic.
New Brunswick's seniors advocate compared the issue to a financial deficit, a problem he believes governments keep passing down.
On a growing number of patients who are in acute care when they really need long-term care, and it's hurting those patients and it's destabilizing the urgent care system and putting everybody at risk, and it is going to require some drastic action.
Moving some to the top of this wait list means others will temporarily be bumped down. Horizon Health has asked for the public's patience, noting this is a short-term measure. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
Activists are urging the Carney government to renew Canada's support for fighting infectious diseases abroad. 24 civil society groups are asking Ottawa to commit $1.37 billion over the next 3 years to the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. The United Nations says the project has saved an estimated 65 million lives since it was started back in 2002. Global Affairs Canada says it will be part of a successful replenishment of the fund this year, but discussions on Canada's pledge remain ongoing. Canada's premiers and territorial leaders are in Ontario Cottage Country for the next 3 days. They're talking tariffs, trade, and teamwork. And they were joined by Indigenous leaders today, while tomorrow they'll meet with Prime Minister Carney. Rachel Aiello has the details.
Well, first of all, I want to welcome everyone.
Premiers today kicked off the annual Summer Council of the Federation meeting at a critical time for the country.
Right now, our economy in all Canada suffers because of the uncertainty.
Facing intensifying tariff pressure from the U.S. and a looming deadline to reach a new trade deal, premiers have come to cottage country to work together to find ways to drive Canadian prosperity.
How are you feeling, Premier? I'm feeling fantastic.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford is hosting the 3-day meeting and started it off calling for a revived Buy Canadian push in every province and territory.
Start buying Canadian-made everything. We are an economic powerhouse, and we don't have to take a backseat to anyone.
Beyond buying local, premiers say Canada needs to build. And so today they met with Indigenous leaders to talk about moving major new nation-building energy and infrastructure projects forward, an effort to find a way to get to a yes faster, while still ensuring First Nations leaders are consulted.
It's time now in 2025 that First Nations are at the table and that we have a bigger seat in this country.
Provincial and territorial leaders are also aiming to advance internal trade pacts while here, carrying on with work they've been doing this year to break down domestic barriers and find new markets.
These are all steps. They're steps in the right direction. We need to have free and open trade between our provinces. We need to have free and open trade on our continent with the U.S. and Mexico.
Tonight, premiers will be having dinner at Ford's nearby family cottage, a private planning session ahead of a big meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney tomorrow. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Huntsville, Ontario.
And the premiers weren't the only politicians who met today to talk tariffs and the trade war. A group of U.S. senators flew to Ottawa to address Donald Trump's ongoing threats with the Prime Minister. Mike Couture has more from the nation's capital.
The group of bipartisan senators say they're here to build bridges, not to throw wrenches, as Canada and the U.S. attempt to hammer out a trade agreement. Now, all of them are opposed to the looming 35% tariffs on a number of Canadian goods.
Looking forward to it.
There was an air of positivity as the 4 American senators went into the meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney, and they felt progress was made 45 minutes later and in another meeting with Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand.
She says we have a framework within that we wish to operate. We have the frame, we need to make it work.
The senators said they discussed contentious issues like the digital services tax, which Canada has paused, and the decades-long dispute over Canadian softwood lumber exports.
I think we now have a clear idea of how to proceed, and that's to build around some sort of quota arrangement. And the Prime Minister said he was open to that.
How'd it go?
It was good.
Good meeting?
It was good. It's a very good meeting. Thank you very much.
Carney was tight-lipped at the conclusion of the meeting, but the minister in charge of trade with the U.S. was upbeat ahead of his meeting with that same group of senators.
Do you think we're going to get a deal with the United States?
Hope so.
Can we get a deal that doesn't include tariffs on them?
We're not going to discuss all this stuff.
Now, asked if they believe a tariff-free deal is possible, Senator Murkowski said that's up to negotiators.
We all want to get to August 1st and beyond with a resolve that works for Canada and works for the United States.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that deadline and the threat of a 35% surtax will focus all trading partners.
I would think that a higher tariff level will put more pressure on those countries to come with better agreements.
And Canada has just 10 days to come up with agreement or face those punishing tariffs. Mike Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
All right, please do stay tuned. Noah will be right back with weather after the break.